What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nick Williams Show. I'm Nick Williams. I'm a independent producer and director and filmmaker north of Boston. And this is a special episode because we're here on a Saturday. This is going to go up on Monday. But 5 years ago, I started a business, production company, and the following year, I made a TV show pilot that I never did anything with and never went anywhere. And on that set, I had a little PA come up to me and say, I want to make movies and I'd like to do an internship of some kind. And that intern was Jaden Moffitt. And this is a big deal for me to have you here because I think because obviously, I talk about films and making films. I think I've mentioned your name on my podcast more than any other director, filmmaker, cinematographer, anyone. And
Wow.
probably because I've worked with you.
Mhm.
But thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm honored that I'm the most mentioned person. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, when it comes to either on-set experiences or because I've worked with a ton of people, but on a consistent level, and when I'm talking about somebody who I think is very good at things, I'm always like, yeah, well, when I was on set, it's like Jaden will say, or whatever. It's always Jaden Moffitt, always. So thanks for being here. Thanks for driving up and
Absolutely.
being here today. I wanted to have you on to talk about a lot of different things, but I think that kind of going back to the beginning, at least of your journey,
Okay.
and then kind of going through all the way up into where you are now. Because when I met you, you were just about to go into college. You were making movies in your backyard with your little brothers,
Mhm.
and you knew nothing about real, and when I say real, I mean with other people
Yep.
involved making films. Then you were a PA, and then you were doing the clapboard for a while. And then it was like when you work for me, very trial by fire, I would say.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you want to be the big boy. You can be the big boy, you know? And
Yeah.
all the bullshit that comes along with it. Oh, I'll bleep that. I'm trying really hard to be good on this episode, I promise.
Okay.
You might actually hear me say, oh my gosh, for the first time,
No way.
I think.
Someone's got to clip that then.
Yeah.
For me, like I got to save that for later cuz that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I want you to be able to tell your story. I don't want there to be any sort of hindrance. If you're part of Jaden's family, thank you for watching this episode. And I strongly advise not watching any other episodes of my show.
Oh my
um,
goodness.
out of respect. You can do whatever you want, but I've warned you now. So let's take it a step back here. You're 22.
Yep.
You just graduated college.
Yep.
Um, Also, I'll cut this part out, but we're not talking about any future plans yet. Okay,
Yep.
like of our stuff. That's still everything's under. Okay. Right. So you're 22. You just graduated college, and let's go back to the very beginning. What if you can remember, when was
Sure.
the first time that you wanted to either pick up a camera or do something? Like what's that like for Mr. Moffat? And it can be back in the church days. Like that's fine.
I think I had a very sort of unique trajectory getting into this stuff. I can't say that anybody else I've talked to has ever kind of had the same story of getting into filmmaking as I have, and it's kind of a roundabout way. Um, I do remember, and I think kind of what you were saying, like my earliest memory when it comes to this stuff, I think
Mm-hmm.
I was probably like 10, 11 years old, and like my dad had one of those super cool at the time waterproof were they called flip cameras? Like the tall ones that were
Oh,
black,
I had
dude,
one of those. I
and it
got
had
one of
like
those for
the wrist
Christmas
strap and
once.
everything?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so sick, so sick. And I was like just, "Oh, that's the coolest thing." And like maybe I just thought it was a toy, but I thought it was the coolest thing. I remember I made my brother Jacob, me and him used to have like all these costumes. We had like a great basement to play in our house. And so I had us both dress up as lions. And I can't remember if it was like a mimic of The Lion King or something along those lines. But I just like wanted to go down there and I was like, Dad, I need the camera. Dad, I need the camera. Just went down there, was goofing off. I don't think anything like more than me shooting those clips happened, but I recorded something. I know that that exists. Where? Lost in a drive somewhere. We'll find it eventually. But I remember doing that. But then I can't lie. I think it took me kind of a little while to get back into film related stuff. Like I was very lucky growing up in Massachusetts. I was in a very good education system, and I got very fortunate that we went through this sort of iPad initiative when iPads first came out. So
Explain that. What do you mean iPad initiative?
basically our school was like, "Oh, we wanna be, like, super high tech. We want to bring ourselves and our education into the future." So they got this huge grant. I don't know from where, I don't know how we got it, but, we were able to get iPads as students. So every student got an iPad,
Mm,
and these iPads had cameras on them. And all of a sudden, our teachers were being asked to try to open up the ability for their students to kind of choose what they wanted to do when it came to projects, like try to foster a little bit more creativity. Like it doesn't just need to be a little essay report. It doesn't just need to be a slideshow. Like you can now do multimedia type of presentations, make a game on the iPad, film a video, do anything, make a song. Like they were pushing this down our
which you
throats.
did both. I've seen one of them.
I have.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
Um, but it was very cool for them to do that for us. So then all of a sudden, like, what am I doing every single time we get a class project? I'm making a video. Like,
Mhm.
what else am I gonna do? Like, that was the coolest thing. I've got an iPad, I've got an iMovie access. Like, I'm making stuff. And so I made goofy, silly videos. I was a part of the tech team because I was aware of how to use an iPad better than a lot of other people because I just like technology. So,
Right. You were the
um,
genius bar for the school.
essentially, no, we
Yeah.
literally were called the iBraves,
There you go.
and I think their website is still up.
Yeah, I bet.
It's crazy. So we were tasked with making like tutorials and we made like goofy videos about like teachers who were crying because they had to hand out paper assignments and collect paper assignments. And then we were like, no, 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 use Google Classroom. And it was like we had like a Google Classroom Superman type of dude who was
Right.
teleporting around the school with like it's just like silly stuff, but we were making videos every time. So then, we transitioned into high school and that sort of uh direction has been kind of instilled in me. And I got very fortunate when I was probably 13, 14 years old, getting close to high school. I had a very nice person from my church recognize, like, you seem to love to take pictures. Like you're out there with your phone, you call yourself an iPhone photographer, you're posting stuff on your Instagram, you're making silly videos for school.
Mhm.
I have a Canon T3 Rebel and I do not use it. And you will get so much more use out of this camera than I will.
Right.
And this person came to my house and gave me this camera for free, no strings attached, just because he believed that that camera would be used so much more and it would bring me so much more in my life than it was bringing him. And that changed a lot of things for me because then all of a sudden I wasn't just an iPhone photographer. I was taking pictures with that. And I started trying to do like a daily challenge, like, got to do a pic a day. And I would try to do a post a day. That fell off, but it was still like one of those things where it was foundational in me being interested more in photography. So, now we get towards the sort of high school time period.
Mhm.
And again, all of the teachers, now that we've been in this program for years, all want to incentivize people to be creative and like pursue the things that they want to do. Make the projects you want to make, do it how you want to do it. And regardless of what type of project you make, we'll find a way to grade it. Right. So, of course, I just natural tendency continued to do stuff with videos. And all of a sudden, I have a new piece of equipment. So now I'm the silly kid that's bringing a camera to school
Mhm.
to shoot high school video projects on this little camera.
Mhm.
Then I was the kid that was bringing in a DJI Phantom 3 to school, not in a case, just completely
You're just carrying
built
this thing around.
carrying a thing that's like 1 foot by 1 foot with props that stick out. I don't know why they let me. I don't know how I was allowed to fly it at my school, but I did multiple times. Um, it was really interesting, but they all of my teachers, like, pushed for me to do that. Like, once I had submitted my first video project, they were like, "So, I'm expecting you to do this again next time?" I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Right.
you can bet your bottom dollar that's what I'm gonna be doing."
Mhm.
And so I had my friends and we were just like goofing off and we would make parody videos. So whether that was like a music video parody or we were doing like a parody of like Friends or like sitcom type of style, like I was just like genre hopping, trying to find something that could fit whatever topic we had to, try to educate people with through this video. I don't know how much education people really got through it, but boy, was it fun. And my goal was really just to make people laugh and like if I got a positive reaction out of it, that was really all I was hoping for, just
Well,
people
and you
enjoying
knew
it.
that if you did a good job, not to cut you off, but you knew that if you did a good job, the teachers would encourage more of using the video as, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because it's very
100%.
easy if when kids get out of line, and I don't mean like being bad, but if there was no educational stuff in there, it's very easy for teachers to go, okay, this isn't working. Just write a 10-page essay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Y
So it's like you have to do good
Yep.
if you want to keep playing or doing, the thing that you like to do.
And I was further incentivized too because, like, I got the grades to show it. Like, they helped push me because I was sitting at the top of my classes when it came to the project grades, and people were, like, really wanting to be a part of my group to maybe get a little more of that grade as well, so, like, that type of thing.
Hmm.
But it was really fun, and I got to try and experiment a lot of different things. I made, like, a movie trailer. I learned how to use, like, a standalone audio recorder for a couple of things that I realized, "Oh, might be a good thing to have better sounding audio or something here."
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it was just like a bunch of silly, goofy projects with my friends. And it's like so funny to me. I like now going back to the drone thing, like drones and around that period of time, they started exploding. Like this was well before drones were like so small you could fit it in your pocket type
Right,
of size.
right,
Like
right,
this
right.
is like early days. And I had a really good friend, who was really, really smart. And for Christmas one year, he got this tiny drone. And it was like, and again, this is before small drones were really a big thing, but this was a tiny little drone with a camera on it that sent live video to the controller. And it was the coolest thing to me. Like, I was just like thinking of all these different things of like, oh, I could get this kind of a shot, or I could do this type of a thing. Like, how cool would that look to like fly a drone through like something like this? Like, kind of the way that FPV pilots do now.
Hmm.
Like, just seeing what my friend had, and like, we were kids. Like, that was a toy, and it was like not anything for professional use, but just like the conceptual piece of like having a floating thing that I can move anywhere I want to shoot anything I want to see things that I can't see myself was the coolest thing. And then I got into like RC airplanes and trying to get like cameras
Yeah,
on
we
those.
bonded over that when you started working with
Uh
me.
huh.
Yeah, that's cool stuff.
It was so cool. So that really, I don't know what it was about that stuff, but it just really inspired me. I also am a huge fan of clouds. So having a drone that I could send 400 feet up in the air and see like the most beautiful things to me in the world, which were clouds and like especially at sunset, like that stuff just was, I don't know. I think it invigorated this passion for visuals. And like I didn't recognize it in a filmy sense because this was kind of pre-exposure to any of that type of stuff. But like,
So I was going to ask you, so like for me,
mhm,
um, my interest in filmmaking, I always so I was it started off I was like class clowny, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And then
okay.
everybody was like, "Oh, you should be like an actor." So then I was
Mm,
doing a lot of stage stuff,
yep,
and in 5th grade, my dad had filmed on our little
yeah,
camcorder thing. He had filmed the entire production of this play that I was in.
okay.
And then I was then tasked, because I offered, because it's me,
Mhm.
to like edit and put credits in it,
Oh, there you go.
and like burn the DVDs, uh, so that like the kids could all have a copy of it, you
Yep.
know? And it wasn't like great. It was like my dad at the back of the room with a tripod filming it, you know what I mean? It was nothing crazy. But uh being that like that literally was the first like public thing that I ever did uh with a film or whatever. And then I wanted to be an actor, like a real actor.
Mhm.
And so my mom got me an agent through her friend, and I would be
Okay.
in, like, little, like, college films, but they were for, like, AFI or,
Yeah.
like, USC. And so the budget, I mean, you walk in, there's, like, a full dolly track, there's a
Yep.
full crew. It looked just like your set,
It's like a
you know?
professional it's like a full-on professional set at
A
that level.
real movie.
Yep.
And I remember being an extra in a college film when I was very young, and I walked in, and the dolly track was there, and the guy with the boom and all this stuff, and actually, Jason Segel was in the film, and he was the star of the film. It was
Really?
yeah, I was, like,
That's
8.
crazy.
It was, like, 3rd or 4th grade.
Wow.
But I had always, you know, I wanted to be an actor and everything else, and, the weirdest thing came over me, like, I'm sitting there watching all these people walk around and do the stuff, and I'm like, "I wanna do that.
Mhm.
That looks like." So wait, so they tell them what to do, and then they decide how the movie looks in the end? That's me. Oh, that's me all day.
I mean,
You know what I
when
mean?
you want control.
Thank you. Well, it's, I mean, part of it is it's control too, but like a little bit of it is like liking the gear
Uh-huh.
and being mesmerized by a
Oh, yeah.
guy sitting on a dolly and like that look. And part of it is, well, I have something to say as well. Like I love to talk. I love to tell stories. I love to really like you know what it is I love to watch people's reactions
Yep.
when I'm telling a story.
100%.
Whether it's them watching a movie of mine or when I'm just saying like, "Oh, did you hear what happened this past weekend?" Blah, blah, blah," and people go, "My God, no way!" And like being able to invoke a reaction of some sort
Yeah.
is really cool to me. And so I just I guess I fell in love with it from that point on. But I wanted to ask, like, at what point did you decide that you wanted to be the next Roger Deakins? Like, as an, you know what I'm saying? Like, not exactly, and you know, but I'm just saying a name that people can be like, "Oh, I get it."
Mhm.
Like, where did it swap from, "I like messing around with my friends and making stuff, and the drone stuff is cool for getting a shot."
Yep.
When did that translate to, "I can tell stories visually"? Because it did before you met me. I'm talking about, like, when did you decide to make, you know, the Tarantino style shot with your brother? You know what I'm talking about? Like, the low angle with the, you
Yeah.
know? Like, when did that happen?
That's like that's a tough question to, like, pin down, like, some specific moment. I wish there was, like, some sort of, like, turning point for me. Um, that would be a great story. That'd be wonderful. But, honestly, I think similar to you, I had an affinity for telling stories, like, I just always wanted to be telling stories. Now, I was constantly told growing up I was very verbose and
You were very
very and
verbose?
long-winded, and my stories never got anywhere.
Really?
Really? Yeah, that's 100% me all the way up through high school. Like, that's kind of I don't think.
And then what, you met me and you shut down? I don't understand.
No, I just think that I was in a bubble. Like, that whole world, like, the place that I grew up in Mass is just like, or Massachusetts, it's small. Like,
Mhm.
you're in a small town with
Heavy opinions. Very
very heavy
opinionated area.
oh, 100%. But, like,
Like, they'll tell you if your stuff sucks.
everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows everything going on in everyone's lives. Like, I don't know what it was about storytelling, but, like, I was just comfortable.
Mm.
I was in a place that
Well,
felt
when
like
you
I
like
was.
control.
Well, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Um, it was just that's how it kind of worked out. Like, I was always saying something. I was always telling these types of long-winded stories, whether it was like something that happened to me or something that happened to somebody else. Crazy events in the world that I saw that I really wanted to just like spit out all this information about. Like, that's just what I was doing constantly. So I was kind of made aware of the fact that I was constantly telling these stories.
Mm,
I wouldn't say that that made me transition towards like storytelling or wanting to make movies. I feel like the sort of visual aspect of what I was saying before with taking pictures or wanting to get these sort of crazy aerial visuals kind of lent itself to me being like, oh, I do silly, goofy videos with my friends, but I also want to do more when I'm not just at school.
mm,
And so then, like, I was very fortunate. My dad had like a desktop PC, super old, like before Windows 7, even like that kind of vibe, like just
mhm.
old computer with one of the old, I can't even remember what the program's called. One of those like stock Windows. video editing
but
applications.
not Windows Movie Maker.
It might have been.
Was it with the blue screen and the white letters?
I think it was.
Yeah, yeah. That
So
was my first one that I used too.
all of a sudden I was just like trying to use that and like make all sorts of random things. I was like trying to play around with like text or do other things and I like kind of learned what editing was. And then again, I feel like that further progressed when I got an iPad and I got to do stuff with like
iMovie. Yeah.
iMovie, exactly. So then, you get to high school level and you transition from iMovie to Final Cut because you've got a nicer computer that's able to handle that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And maybe you're not shooting with your iPad anymore, you're shooting with a camera or even your phone because phones were already starting to have good enough cameras to do these types of things with.
Well,
Um,
let's not sugarcoat it either. Like back in the day, once you get like into something,
mhm.
you're starting to research now. What's
Yeah,
better than iMovie?
exactly.
You know? And then everybody's like, you gotta get Final Cut.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have Final Cut,
Mhm.
you don't make
Oh, all the
movies.
YouTube influencers back
Yeah,
then,
you
man.
don't make
Oh,
movies
100%.
unless you're in Final Cut.
Yep.
Now it's like use Final Cut. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But I will say having those restrictions definitely, and this was definitely an in for me
Mhm.
when you wanted to work for me, because I got into this industry, I would say, later than the average person. I always knew that I liked telling stories and I enjoyed movies and everything, but was I grew up in an environment that was very like you are worth what you make.
Yeah.
So if you're not pulling in tons and tons of money, what are you doing?
Mhm.
That's a cute hobby. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
How are you going to pay bills? So it was like this, something I always went back to,
Mhm.
um, and something that I like that you can't control.
Yeah.
Like you have to, yeah, give me a camera. You got a camera? Can we hold on one second? Can you say that one more time? Could you
Yeah.
like you can't control it. It's always there. And I think identifying whatever that thing is that you can't control that you have to do is
Mhm.
super important for people. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
100%.
Like and it doesn't matter what it is. Like you might think you want to be a lawyer or a judge
Oh,
or
goodness.
something of that nature because
Uh-huh.
I don't know, maybe you want to be the guy with all the answers, quote unquote. But you gotta feed the natural instinct.
Yep.
And if for you that's being a cinematographer or kind of visually figuring out a way to convey a message,
Yeah.
um, that you got to feed that beast. That's super important.
Yeah. I honestly I feel very fortunate having grown up both with like supportive parents in that sort of endeavor, but like it kind of felt like everyone around me kind of pushed me in that direction. Not to say that they made choices for me, but it was just like it was clear to everybody else,
Hmm.
right? And maybe it wasn't as obvious to me, but it was
Right.
clear to everybody else the direction that I was going, the sort of um direction that I would take or the sort of job endeavors I would try to go after later, maybe for school or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I feel like for me personally, I guess if we wanted to go back to like try to say when was that sort of turning point where you recognized that like you wanted to move more in that direction?
Hmm.
I think
Because
it
it is a big.
was
I mean, it's a big. Okay, here's how I want to like break that down. So when you're a kid, I think it's very natural. No one is telling you in an authoritative position in your life. No one is saying you need to strive.
yeah,
Not that there's anything wrong with this, but nobody is telling you you need to strive to be a night shift employee at Dunkin' Donuts. You have to. That is what your father did, your
yeah,
grandfather did. Like you need to be at Dunkin' Donuts making those coffees the right way. Like nobody's pushing that. They go, well, maybe you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. And we're American. So for us, it's like you could do anything.
anything you
You
want.
could even be the president of the United States someday.
Yep.
That's the way we're taught, right? Like you can do anything, but you can be the most powerful person in the world because you're American.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure for a kid, but also making movies and art is not the cultural mindset of parents with teaching their children how to be successful later.
No,
Which is
it's fine.
is what it is, and a lot of like you said, your parents were very supportive, my parents were very supportive, I did art classes that were extracurricular outside of school
Of
that
course.
I did a whole bunch of stuff growing up. My parents were very, helpful in feeding that, hobby, but
Yeah.
it was always considered a hobby.
Yep.
It was like, "Yes, you should express yourself creatively, but what are you gonna do to support yourself?"
Yeah. No,
Like,
and
you know?
even with the sheer amount of support that I got from all over, like, end of the day, like, my parents got one of those college help you plan your applications, where
Mhm,
what schools, what type of majors, and that type of thing, and I was really questioning, like, "What am I gonna do? Like, do I wanna go after this? Do I wanna go after this? I have so many different interests." I just, like, I can't really say that like, it was just, like, something that was always holding me back from making the decision to go in an alternative route. Like, film was always on the table, and it was just, like, that constant nag,
mhm.
and it was just I remember there was this time where, like, it was just my parents and me sitting at the table, the college advisor had left, and they were like, "Look, it's decision time, and know that we will support you in any and everything you do.
Mm.
If you wanna go down this route, do you feel like you're confident that you will be able to make that work?" And it was still a question because
Because you were a child.
exactly. And I
I hate
also
the only reason I hate college in general as a concept, one, mostly today because it's so expensive. If a film degree costs 5 grand, I would tell everybody to
oh,
go,
100%.
right?
Yeah, that would
But
be
it's
great.
you're talking about 3 and $400,000 now to get a, I don't know, criminal justice degree, not that there's anything wrong with any of these degrees, or a gender studies degree, or a, these like highbrow BS kind of things that like 90% of college kids that get degrees in general, like why would I spend 300,000 to get a degree in business?
Yeah,
Everything that I've done in my life and everything that you've done in your life is going to shape the way that you navigate the world.
exactly.
Why do you need to spend it? And how is it possible that we can make 17 and 18-year-olds decide on $400,000 worth of debt? Or, in some cases, there are people that have had stuff paid for them, or people get grants or scholarship money or
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is great. But like, you can't even conceptualize
No, and
$400,000 at 17 years old.
it's a lot of pressure too because you're not just looking at it on an educational standpoint. You're looking at it as almost like this is the deciding moment of my life. What I choose to do with this, what school I choose to go to, what major I choose is going to influence everything. Now, maybe we as people tend to do overinflate those types of feelings,
Mm,
but to a certain degree, there is certain truth to the idea that, like, when you choose to go through one door, other doors are going to close, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that will, as you continuously progress through the next door and the next door, shape the direction that you go in, shape the way
mhm,
that your life will result. And when you're at that point, it can feel like just so much pressure. Like,
mhm,
is this the right choice? Should I really go after this? Should I do this? Like, you have to kind of take a leap of faith, even regardless of it being film or something else. You just have to be like, this is the thing that I feel that I want to do,
mhm,
and it would pain me more to not do it than it would in a short-term sense to just try and to go after it. And if it doesn't work out, we'll take a second, we'll reassess, but you just have to kind of take that leap of faith if you want to pursue, especially in a creative world. Like, creative studies and creative things like filmmaking and stuff are never promoted the same way that any of the other stuff is. It's like even business degrees, I think, are way more heavily brought up by parents or your schools or touted as like, if you don't know what you want to do, just do a business type of thing. Like, that's a safety net. You can go do that and you can get anything you want in life because it'll apply to something.
mhm,
People don't look at that the same way with creative endeavors. And I also think the same way we're kind of naive about a lot of things, people are kind of naive about the way that the film world works.
mm,
Because in all honesty, you can go into any major, and still land a job in the film world if that's what you want to do. So you don't need to feel as much pressure to choose the actual filmmaking major if you still want to work in film. I know people that had business majors who graduated and then have become
I
producers.
didn't even go to college and I make films, so it's my job.
Exactly. Like, what we don't. It's just that overinflated sense of like that choice being so important. It is, but Only to a certain degree. You can always choose what you want
I think
later.
one of the important aspects of it is the financial aspect of it,
100%
you know,
too.
because you're taking on like a huge burden
Yeah, it's a
of
liability.
it's a huge risk. And like you can apply yourself and everything, but like you can apply yourself, graduate with a 4.0 and not end up in that field,
Yep,
you know? So that's a huge like stopping point and something that I feel like a lot of parents should probably talk to their kids about when deciding on college, especially if the parents are going to end up paying for it. But
definitely.
regardless of all of that stuff, you ended up going into college. Do you want to do you want to talk about how you ended up on my set?
Well, a mutual friend,
Yes, a mutual friend.
Charlie Norton,
Yep.
was making a movie, and he was the TA in my intro to production class.
Mm.
And I don't know what it was that I did, but I apparently caught his attention,
Mhm.
and he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, you seem like you have at least half a brain. I have a set, and we could use an extra hand. Would you like to partake? It's in Massachusetts." I was like,
I'm from
"Oh,
Massachusetts.
that's quite the coincidence. I have a free place to stay there.
Yeah.
Yes, I can
Yep.
do that." And
Little did you know it was the set from hell. No, I'm just kidding. It was
I
actually a
j-
decent set.
it was I don't even yeah, I don't know. It was just so interesting. I really at that time still was very naive to a lot of the way that the film world works, sort of jobs or the tasks or even the roles on a set.
Mm.
Um I really just was wanting to get experience. Like I just wanted to be there, and if I was doing nothing but lifting stuff, picking it up, putting it down, moving it from place to place because
But
that's
you're
what I was
there.
told to do, I'm there.
Yeah.
And that would have been cool enough for me to be like, I'll do this anytime, any day. And so that was a really interesting first sort of experience into that stuff because I think Charlie was also one of those people, especially looking around at like other people in those classes, like he was actively trying to do things in a way that I didn't see other people doing, and he
Mhm.
was very proactive. Charlie's a very proactive person,
Yeah, he
and
is.
he makes connections with everybody, and it was really cool to see somebody kinda doing what I wanted to do. Because when you make the choice to go to film school and you realize you wanna make movies, you also find that there's a lot of people that went to film school that said they wanna make movies but don't.
Mhm.
And he was somebody actively at that time who was, and I was like, "I need to be there. I need to see what this is like. I wanna be a part of this."
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was interesting because you were 18 and uh, it was in your first year of college, freshman in college at film school in New York City or New York, you know, um, and very close to the city. And you have somebody who not only is inviting you to be on a film set, but a film set that isn't part of college. Like this is a real like there's tons of people with tons of experience, and you got invited.
Yep.
You didn't know me. I didn't know you until you introduced yourself to me on set on the first day because Charlie was ADing for me
Mhm.
on that set and was like, I'll bring a bunch of people. I got a bunch of people. Like, you know how he is.
Yep.
And it was great. And I'm forever grateful for him for doing that. And he did handle himself very well. And you were like this kid who you were just there and you were very helpful. And you asked questions. It was very cool. You were very helpful and always willing to, like, do anything. Like, "You need me to sweep it? I'll sweep it." You know what I mean? That was very cool.
I feel like I don't wanna say I felt indebted, but it was just, like, one of those things, like, I would literally have done anything to be there just to get the experience, and so when I'm there, all I want to do is to learn more or to hear more or to see more or to
Mhm.
be like who's to say that this wouldn't lead to the next thing? Like my fingers can
Well,
be
it did.
crossed and it did. And like that's the cool thing. Like I would always go in and I never try to set my expectations so high that I let myself down. I
Mhm.
always try to keep it, moderate. Just, you can be hopeful, but just don't expect anything. And if you put forth your best foot and nothing comes of it, then clearly that wasn't meant to be and, maybe I'll get another opportunity somewhere else with somebody else doing something else. Doesn't matter what, but hopefully there's another time. I was just very, very fortunate that it was like immediately first year, first class, first person that talks to me, first set I'm ever on. in my own home state, which is wild
Mhm.
coming from being in New York to just so working out that it's there, it's within driving distance. I can make all this stuff work logistically as a kid that really doesn't understand any of it. And that was just it was an enlightening experience. It was very, very helpful in helping me to kind of see how the film world worked outside the purview of like just school stuff. And I got to do that before I was on a school set.
Mhm.
And that also really changed the way that I looked at how sets were run when I got on a student production. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa. So this is why we need to learn and this is why
Mhm.
we need to get more experience because for all of the hardships or difficulties that we would have on a professional set, you're not only dealing with that, but you're dealing with the inexperience of not knowing how to remedy those on a student set.
Mhm.
And that's why you have to make the mistakes to learn from the mistakes. But man, it was just such a difference to then start doing and working on student sets.
Mhm.
And I felt like I was greatly advantaged because I had gotten to see what it's like outside of a student setting and I could use my experience from there. I'm never going to tout myself as like, "Oh, I'm so smart. Like you guys should just listen to me and like I'm going to make everything better for you by doing it myself and
Mm.
you guys shouldn't do any of it." That was never the case, but it was more of just like, "Oh, you know what? I actually was on a set and, this kind of thing happened. Did you try doing it this way?" Or just like anywhere that I could try to be helpful, but just
And
actively
more of
suggesting,
suggesting. Yeah.
right? I'm not there because I know it. I'm just, "Hey, I saw something. Maybe this would work for you too."
Right.
I actively want the best for anything that I'm working on because that's just how I am. I want the best for the people I'm working with, the best for the project I'm working on. Like,
Sure.
why would I not try to share something that I feel might benefit? And if it doesn't, that's okay. Like, whatever. If you don't want to
Mm.
take my suggestion, that's okay too. Like, do your own thing.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't work out, maybe learn from the mistake. It's everybody has to get there themselves. And I felt like I just got to get there earlier.
I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I think that there are a lot of uh big egos in this industry, from actors and talent all the way up to, and I would say even a lot of PAs. Like there's just
Oh,
people
definitely.
that are like, I work in film. And
Hmm.
you're like, shut up. Like there's definitely like calm down.
Call ourselves the industry.
Right, right, right. It's like, shut up, a little bit. And I've always tried to be a realist, you know? Like the only reason that I'm making decisions or whatever is because my name's on the check.
Hmm.
That's the answer.
Yep.
That's why. And it does kind of go back a little bit to like my mom saying things when I was growing up, like, because I'm the mom, that's why. Like that was, because I
Huh.
said so, because I'm the mom, that's why.
Exactly.
And like understanding that, and people be like, well, I mean, why do? Because I'm the one writing the checks,
Hmm.
and when you want to write checks, you can do it your way, and that's kind of how I operate my sets. Let me be the one to mess everything up. And one thing with you that I definitely prejudged wrongly, and you surprised me in a positive way, was at the end of that shoot on that initial set that I met you on. We had briefly mentioned, like in passing, you doing some sort of internship or working for me or
Yep.
working with me over the summer. And I was like, all right, well, go back to school, do your thing, and you're more than welcome to hit me up anytime. And my prejudgment was, this is an 18-year-old kid who thinks he's going to come in, and you know what I mean? And he's just sweet talking me or whatever it is because he wants me to call him on the next set, and I'll never hear from him again unless unless Charlie asks him to. I don't know, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Not in an antagonizing way. You were not a bad kid. You were always very polite. But you got to admit, the general consensus of an 18-year-old kid in college is like, you met him, it was a fun experience. I'll never see you again,
Yeah. Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Completely wrong. You were hitting me up on Facebook. You were swiping up on my Instagram stories and commenting on technology that you saw in whatever the post was. And I'm not even making fun. I mean, it was nice. It was like, this kid actually cares. Maybe not about me or what I'm doing. I'm sure you did, but that's not the point. Like you were genuinely interested in growing yourself, and you were clearly going to do whatever you could to like get in somewhere,
Yep.
you know? And then we did it was, on my birthday. I'll never forget because my dad came by right at the end of our Zoom call where I messaged you and said, "Okay, let's set up a time for a Zoom call, whatever, and we'll talk about an internship." And we did. And you sent me a bunch of stuff that you had made, just stuff. I
Yeah.
think the short coffee film was one of them.
Mhm.
You sent me something that you made with your brothers, like in the backyard. Um, and I'm pretty sure there was one other one that I remember watching that I can't even think of it right now. But I think there were like 3 things that you, like, sent me a Google Drive link and said, "I made these things," and then I remember you would start immediately with, like, "Well, okay, so this one is just like me and my brother, so, like, you can't, like, really, like." I'm going, "Shut your mouth. Let me watch. Let me see. Do you think I'm dumb? I know you're a 12-year-old with your brothers in the backyard. I get it."
Yeah.
um, for me to judge something like that would be dumb because you have no money, you have no nothing, you're a kid. Like, how can I judge that? And I was looking for, I just wanted to see what was there.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was, for the first time, I was watching a movie, obviously extremely low budget, but I could see the intentionality. I could see what you were trying to do. And I was really moved and really inspired. And I'm very dramatic with everything I do. If I hate you, I hate you. If I love you, you're family for life. That's it. But it really did move me. And I could see that you may or may not have known at the time what your voice was, but you had a voice and you were going to do everything you could to make sure other people heard your voice. That was really cool for me because I'm like, okay, now instead of hiring a coffee boy for a summer, why don't we, like, give you some projects? Why don't we let you take the reins on stuff? It's gonna be hard. And I told you, I'll never forget where I was sitting. I was sitting on that couch that we used to have at the old studio in
Yeah.
Topsfield. And I'm sitting there on the phone with you. And I said, okay, I got this project. We ended up not even shooting it. It was a different thing that training wheels we did. But
Yeah.
the first one was something else entirely. And I remember pitching you this idea. And then I said, okay, and I want you to DP it. And it's like you got to hear the phone hit the floor. I mean, you were so excited. And I was like, "Okay. All right, cool." So it's not he didn't say, like, because in that moment you could have been like, "Oh, I mean, I would direct it if you want me to, but you want me to, like, DP it? Okay." Or, you know what I mean? Like, it could have gone so many different directions,
Yeah.
and you were, like, so enthralled. Like, "Yes, I can see it in my head right now." And I'm like, "Okay, so he's got a little bit of spunk. Let's see what happens." Like, he's got a little bit of there's a spark there. There's something there. And it was cute. You're a kid and you're very excited. And, I feed off of other people's energy.
Definitely.
And I remember, I mean, your very first day, you were supposed to work until I think, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 o'clock or something and go home. You were there till like 2 in the morning with me.
Yeah.
We were just talking about films and, like, back and forth, the RC planes, like,
Yeah.
everything was like connecting here, connecting here, connecting here. And I was like, oh my God. Like, this is I don't wanna say like a gold mine financially, but just to know you
Mhm.
felt like a gift. I know it sounds very dramatic,
Wow.
but no, but I'm serious because I could see in my mind, I'm thinking, I may never be anything. I may, like, and I'm okay with being a somewhat okay with being like a starving artist, you know? Like, I don't do this podcast, I don't make any films, I don't do anything for anybody else. I do client work for my clients, but the
Yeah.
the stuff that's for me, I do it for me.
Exactly.
I wanna be able to look back, after watching the Oscars and watching you accept your award. I wanna be able to look back at stuff like this and go, "I remember him when," you know?
Well, we're not there yet.
No, I know, but I'm saying, do you get what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Because I'm always right. I'm always right. I always am. And even when I'm wrong, I'm right. You get a feeling about something or someone, um, that is completely, separate from who they are as a person. Like, you and I are not alike. You're short, I'm tall. You're thin, I am pleasantly plump. I am loud and obnoxious and very brash with my personality, and I was just talking to you right before we were recording. You are clinical and move with surgical precision, and you will do the thing with your chin while you're thinking of a response. And then you articulate your response, and it might as well have come out of a computer. You know what I mean? But and that's totally different. But we connect on almost every level when it comes to things that we have interests in,
Yeah.
and the way that we agree on certain things. You're have a more subdued thing, like personality with it.
Yeah.
But I'll be like, "Can you believe this?" And you go, "Yep, I totally agree." Like it's like like that's and so that's very interesting. And I also couldn't. I don't want to say I couldn't care less. I care a lot less. I trust you with the camera
Yeah.
because I don't want to deal with the camera.
Mm.
And if it's wrong, or if I don't like what I see with the camera, I know how to be like, "Yeah, that's good, but why don't we do like, can we get this shot too somewhere
Yeah.
in there?" But I totally trust you when it comes to handling the camera.
Yeah.
I want to deal with the actors. I want to watch the monitor and I want to see what's going on. And I'm my fundamentals, my background for any sort of filmmaking, anything is I started by editing. So like
Yeah.
I'll make the movie in post.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I don't have to worry about the camera, then we're good. I don't need another job on top of everything else. You were totally willing and capable, I guess, of taking the reins on that. And I also really liked that you didn't do everything on sticks and coverage and basic stuff. You wanted to put the camera upside down using duct tape on a string, the end of a broomstick, because maybe it'll be a cool shot. I live in that. That
Yeah.
spark of like, let's try it. Let's just
Why not?
try.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't look good. We do something else. And we always have a tripod. We can always go back to sticks.
Yep.
That was so inspiring to me because every other I don't want to say every other. There's lots of inspiring people out there that watch this that work with me. And like, I love you all, but I'm talking about you right now. And I would say the general consensus is that when it gets tough on a set, go back to the basics just so we can get it done so we can all go home. Because I'm sure, as you know, after making your most recent film, which we'll see a clip from in a little bit, nobody's ever going to care as much about your project as you.
Yep.
It just,
100%.
it's not their
Always.
fault.
No.
You cared about your department and about what you were doing on set more than in an outward way, more than anybody I've ever met before in my life. And I was very impressed by that and wanted to nurture that as much as possible when you
Oh,
started working with me.
I think that that really helped kind of lay the foundations for how I approach stuff in all
Mhm.
honesty because when I first started working for you I was still very early in film school slash you could almost discount it completely like it was
You were a baby.
intro level stuff you're really not getting into much besides theory and the theory is really kind of about the history of film and stuff like that which is all fantastic stuff to know but at the end of the day like a lot of it can't be necessarily applied or something. Like it is not
Well, you're not
translating
making
to a
anything, you're watching stuff.
exactly. And you're trying to analyze stuff, which is great and that can help you learn. But I almost feel that I was just so fortunate to the timing of these first few projects that we did
Mm.
especially in relation to me and the camera because prior to you I hadn't shot anything really besides like $0 budget things that I shot with either my friends or my brothers or for a like intro level project at school and it was you know I'm trying certain things I'm learning things and that's good but when I all of a sudden had the burden of responsibility it was my thing and not only that but I knew that I really wanted to try
Mhm.
it opened that up to me, and I also didn't know what the rules were, right?
I love
Like,
that.
I had no foundational understanding of, like, I did you could have told me coverage, like, "I wanna get a coverage shot." I would have said, "Okay." and I would have gone to my phone and I would have looked up what is coverage because I would have
Sure.
had absolutely no idea what you were talking about. I would have not known what like shot reverse shot was. I would have like just foundational stuff that people will learn as they grow in their fields. I had zero of, but I was given the ability to try anyways. And maybe it was just because I was so passionate about it or whatever that you let me do that. But
Well,
being a
there was talent there too. I mean, you absolutely submitted stuff. If I watched it and it was like, I'm sorry, but if it was just really bad, I wouldn't have. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there was obviously a hint of talent there, but then it was your drive that made me like, okay, yeah, absolutely.
it was just like it was very motivating to have not only the responsibility, like I felt like there was a pressure on me that
There was. Oh, there was pressure. I
yeah,
applied
it's
some pressure. So we can talk about it. There were definitely some pressuring moments.
I mean like you were to me in that like very
Jaden, I
early
was thinking about it
moment.
the other day.
Yeah.
We made between that music video that we shot in
Yep.
Rhode Island, and the set where Charlie was Charlie's film with Ryan Curley was in it.
Yep.
We filmed in one summer in like a 4 month span. We made like 6 films,
Yep.
like 6 pieces. I haven't done that since. Like
I can't say I have either.
2024, I was on one set. Like and that doesn't mean I wasn't working, by the way. Like we were prepping for a year before that, and there
Of
was like a
course.
ton of stuff. But the projects have gotten way more detailed and everything
Yep.
since then. And sometimes I makes me want to go back to the not back to the basics, but back to that summer where we were just making it. We were just
Yeah.
like doing what we want to do. It didn't matter if it was Hollywood, it didn't matter if there was recognition. We're like, we all of us want to make movies, and we
So
just made
let's
a
go
crap
make
load of movies.
movies.
We made so much stuff.
Yes, we did.
Terabytes of footage. Like
Yeah.
just there's so much stuff that we made. It was so fun. Like in retrospect, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I may have done some things a little differently,
Sure.
but I wouldn't trade anybody on in any of those situations for anything. It
No,
was
and we did
amazing.
all of that on top of managing a podcast, which
Yeah,
that
we
was
did.
that was
Yeah,
early days. Like that was I know that you had been doing it prior to me showing up, but
yeah, for a
that
few
was still
months.
like that was something to manage and then you were trying to grow and evolve it and like, oh, let's do animated segues from
Oh
segment to
yeah.
segment and that like we did that and then we're going and doing a multi-camera live stream multicast of a veteran hockey game like, just you could not like, we were doing all these different things, but
Yep.
in retrospect, like, every single one of those 100% taught us so many different things that, like, okay, we can look back with hindsight and be like, "Yeah, we could have done a lot of different things, or we could have done this different or whatever," but, like, end of the day, had we not been in the circumstances, had we not been there and done that in the first place, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We would not be in the same positions
No.
whatsoever, and it was just that whole summer was just fully experimenting with everything
We shot a
and
wedding in that September. Like it was like boom, 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 like just one after the other.
nonstop.
And we did like when we were on Kyle's set for the critic, and then we did I'll call you. So we did like training wheels, a critic, I'll call you, like back to back to back to back to back to back to back.
Yep,
It was insane.
yep.
Like insane.
It was a wonderful time too. Like
It,
for
we were all over the place.
yeah,
It
all these
was
different
like
places, different locations, different
very cool.
people, like all the different environments.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. Mentally, it was a lot to handle. But we
Yes,
did
it
it. We
was.
all did it. We all pulled our weight. We all did it.
Yeah.
And we made some cool stuff. And then so then you got more involved in your college stuff afterward, and we obviously stayed in contact. And how has it been since then?
Honestly, I would say pretty good because I think after the first year of school and getting to have that summer working on all these different projects across the board, I was able to sort of reconfigure the way that I perceived what I should be getting out of school. Because I think when I first went into it as a freshman, I expected it to give me what I wanted or needed.
Meaning what?
I felt like the school and the education it was giving me was supposed to be the end all be all. Like, um, no matter what I did or the effort that I put in, like I should get something out of this. And the transition point was learning how it actually works more so in the real world. Because in school, you're kind of in a fairyland. You're in another different type of bubble with another smaller bubble of very specific people that like to go into communication studies, and you're working within just such a limited scope of stuff, and
with a lot of big personalities.
a lot of big personalities, and it was so helpful to learn outside the scope of that, what things can be, what things should be or shouldn't be, or just getting the experience. And then all of a sudden, I went back into my sophomore and junior years. I was like, if I want something out of this more than I got last year, I have to take it. It's on me to get what I want from this. And I started to recognize, like, this is why you would go to school for film versus not. Like, I have access to equipment that I will never get access to again. I get to shoot
Or at least not for a long
a
time.
very long time, or
Right.
like just not on my budget. Like
Right.
shooting on a Ari Alexa
Mhm.
is just something like, I didn't even know what that was, and then all of a sudden, I recognized how incredible it was that my school had access to that and gave me, as a student, access to that. Now, obviously, you have to pay your dues before you're allowed to use that type of level of equipment,
Sure.
but it was just all of a sudden, I was like, "Okay, I see a lot of people that are just cruising on through because this is not the hardest field. This is not the hardest major. These
Mhm.
classes are not the hardest. You get to watch a lot of movies, you write a couple papers, and that kind of can be it. That can be what you get out of
You'll
school,
get a degree.
and you will.
Right.
What will that do for you later? I don't know. And I feel like I've seen some people from that circle graduate, but what are they doing now besides doing the night shifts over at Dunkin'? Like, you
Right.
know,
And
I
and then there's this sense, I feel like people that end up in that situation, it's so unfortunate because I feel like they, if you were to ask them, they have this mindset of the world is against me.
yeah,
I put in the time, I got the degree, how come I'm not Spielberg?
definitely.
Well, and the short answer is because Spielberg is Spielberg
Yes.
and you're supposed to be you, but you didn't utilize those 4 years to find your voice and become a creative person.
Yeah.
You did the tasks that would get you the A and you graduated, expecting Hollywood to come banging down your door with a big
Give me the
check that
contract. Yep.
says, yeah, like that's like not, that's not life. That's not real life.
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And I feel so fortunate again, like the fact that I was on those sets that whole summer
mm,
across the board, all these different things. Like even like the wedding and the multicast and all these different things. It just gave me more experience and skills and technical awareness of something that to me is so valuable that can be really lost on people in film school is empathy for other people on set in
mm,
different positions. It like if you have if you have like a desire to be a director, or if you have a desire to be the camera person, maybe you spend more time doing camera stuff than you do lighting. But you guys still have to work together. You guys still have to be able to cohesively get to the end product together, but you also have to know how to communicate with one another.
mhm,
And I find that there's so much miscommunication because of a lack of awareness or a lack of empathy for the struggles of somebody in a slightly different position than you, even just on a film set. That I like, that was the biggest thing for me. I recognized, I was like, if I want to be better at what I want to do, I need to be able to understand what everybody else is doing. If I want
mhm,
to communicate effectively with them, if I don't want them to hate me for asking them to do this, because there's no reason I should be asking them to do that. I won't know unless I'm in their shoes. And I got so lucky again. I got onto some of the senior film sets my sophomore year, which there wasn't a lot of other sophomores that got to. And I felt very fortunate to be one of the few. And again, I got to be all the smaller pieces. I was a PA, I was a grip, I was a AC, a second AC. Like I was just like, I was doing the lower responsibility roles but learning about the higher responsibility ones and the lower responsibility ones at the same time. So now at a point where I've graduated and I want to continue doing this stuff, I feel so much more prepared
mhm,
and more ready to help tackle other people's problems because I understand it, and I can recognize, like, oh, you know what, that's a lot to be asking of the entire lighting team to be doing at 11:30 at night after a
mhm.
almost 14-hour day. Like, you know, student film sets
Oh,
are tough, man,
dude,
and
you're
it's
you're
just
not
so
kidding.
helpful
Yeah.
to be able to recognize that, and people will be so much happier when they feel validated,
Yeah.
and that helps just so much, in my
I
opinion.
have I have a story for you on for a set that you were not on. But it was a student set and I was helping a student I was ADing for a student, and the actor, one of the actors on set, we were shooting in. I really got to keep it light. We were shooting in a restaurant, and it was a student film set. So we're shooting this short film over like 3 days for principal photography,
Okay.
right? So if we're shooting in a restaurant, we don't have the restaurant for a week. We have it for this night. It's also a period piece. So there's set dressing and everything else. Like the DP is covering exit signs on a ladder. There was not like 7 grips there to help.
No.
Okay. So we're doing all of the set deck and all these other things. And it's the, core team. I'm helping out a buddy of mine that I said I would help out, whatever. And the actor says, oh, the gaffer was getting out of work and was showing up late. So now you have the DP and me and the director and a couple other people setting up lights, doing light stuff. We get it. Film set. It's a student film set. Not a lot of people there. The gaffer is showing up and shows up late and says, after showing up late, and I mean like 6 hours late from being at work, which we knew,
Yep.
the actor is like, hey, listen, we got to get these shots today because I am not available to come back to do this stuff. Busy person,
Yeah.
scheduled thing. And the gaffer's like, well, I mean, I have to work, and if we can just have the actor come back. Like when the person finally showed up, they were like, we can have the actor come back a different day. And I said, that's the truth. I said, why? I'm just asking a question. Just answer the question. Why did you show up late today? It's because you have a job. You have work. You had something, a prior engagement that was planned. Nobody's giving you any crap about it. But that same reason is why the rest of us can't change our schedules for you, because we have other things going on. And this person's whole world, it was just a complete meltdown. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm here on this college film set with the future generation of filmmakers. If I never see that person ever again, I'll be fine. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I don't want that energy. I don't
Yeah.
want that person anywhere near my set that costs tens of thousands of dollars, someday hundreds or millions.
Yep.
I don't want that energy anywhere near my set. Now, do I like to run a tight ship and have a militant crew? Yeah,
Of course.
because when we do our job the right way, all of us do our individual jobs the right way, we're going to make something really cool.
Yep.
If we're like, if you want to hang out and you want to chit chat and talk about movies or whatever, you come and do this. Or we can just go hang out somewhere. At the time, we couldn't even go to a bar because we were 12. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that, like, but when you're on set, like it's high pressure, limited time. You got people who are paying for things looking at you like you're spending my money. And you got to get everything done. It's not about like who's nice or not. Like you're not there to make friends. You're there to do a job.
Yeah.
You make the friends beforehand so that when you're on set, you now get the opportunity to work with people you
them.
like.
Yep.
So I just feel like that, like, and part of it's being young. Like there's like a mindset shift thing that has to happen. But like, I don't know, if you don't want to be here, like the door is right there. You know what I'm saying? Like I just can't understand it because I was the same as you. Like my first opportunity, no matter who needed anything, I'm like, you don't have to pay me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pay me. Let me
No.
get there. Let me
Yeah.
let me do something. I'll pick up a sandbag. Like this is the coolest thing in the world. We get to play pretend all day long.
Yep.
That's our job.
Make believe.
Yeah. If you don't want to be here, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I don't know if like, I've heard some horror stories of film sets, and like Dan was somebody else who worked with us that summer, Dan
Yep.
Keating. And he has told me that there are people that just don't show up to class ever, still get an A because they do the work,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, which is crazy to me. But there's also this mentality of like switching positions in order to learn. So you get 5 of you together, one person is the director, one person is sound, lighting, etc.
Yep.
And then the next project you'll like kind of rotate
Rotate.
or switch or do whatever. So that means that everybody is going to have the opportunity, hopefully, whatever, to be the director at some point. but that also means that everybody has the mindset of, well, I mean, I just directed the last one. I know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Like, okay, but like there's no stakes involved. There's no risk. There's no like um it just creates an environment, in my opinion, of like there's no leader. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you just end up arguing because everybody thinks they're doing it better than everybody else. I don't run a ship like that. Let me mess it up.
Yep.
Do what I say, let me mess it up. And if you do what I say and we get everything done, there will be time for you to like have some fun and try something different. Do
Yep.
it your way.
Yeah.
Like, you got to admit, even as crazy as I can be, if we do things my way like the first time, I'll be like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Yep.
You know? And I'll say that I hold you and everybody on set, but I'm saying just you're here.
Yeah.
So we're talking about you. I held you, especially that summer, to the standard of like, um, if you want to do something, then we're gonna do it, and we're gonna figure it out, and you're not allowed to give up.
Oh, and I tried a couple of times.
There's one I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about.
The one in
Thinking
the
about.
bar.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I told Sam about it when I had Sam on the podcast. I made that clip, but it's true. Like, you were very stressed, and it was one of the latter projects in the summer. We were all overtired. We were in New Hampshire. We were like, you lived an hour from the studio,
Yep.
and then on top of that, we were an hour north.
Yeah. We
I'm
were.
sitting there going, it's our last day, and after this, we're gonna go have a wrap party. And you're like, I'm exhausted, you know, and still trying to be creative. And we tried the shot 3 or 4 times, and you came over to me, and we're like, "I think we should just do it on sticks and cut it around." And I was like, "I will twist your head off your shoulders. I will pop you like a pimple.
Yep.
We're doing it the way you wanna do it because your idea is good." That's why. If the idea had been crap, I would have told you in the beginning, but you have a
Wouldn't
good
have.
idea, so we're doing the good idea. Thank you very much. By the way, it worked, and it looked really cool.
It did look really cool.
And you were 18, and now you're 22.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, had I like that moment of like, just do it. All right, you done complaining? Great. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because you know you can do it. Just do it.
See, the thing is, though, I feel like in that moment, it was less about knowing that I could do it. It was more so the opposite. It was more of just like I feel the weight of the crew and I am directing the way that the photography is going, which means I'm directing our gaffer and our grips. Well, the gaffer is directing the grips, but they're doing the work at the behest of the gaffer, at the behest of me.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the time that it takes to set this up, the time that it takes to actually get and accomplish the shot a proper way
Hmm.
that could be utilized, all of that like weight felt like it was on my shoulders and
It
I was
was.
just like I do not want to like stress these people out. I don't want to like take all of our times like you get so in your head in
Hmm.
a way and sometimes you do need that extra push like one we are here specifically to do exactly the work that we are doing right now.
Hmm.
Two, I like this so let's do it and just get over it.
Do you understand why in that moment I didn't let you go to a tripod? Do you? Because I'll tell you, it's very simple.
Break it down.
It's because it was take 4.
Yeah.
We had already set everything up.
Yes, we had.
We had already tried it 3 or 4 times. And take 3 was 90%. So, like, it's possible. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't like I wasn't, like, holding you by your ankles, hanging you off the end of a building,
No.
and we're just like, "Oh, I almost slipped you." Like,
Yeah.
nope. We've already done it 4 times, and we're almost there.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to work. For us to give up now, then it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Then the whole setup and all of that stuff, and then that, in my opinion, is when you should feel the weight
Yep.
of what you put everybody else through. Now it's not worth it because you gave up.
Yeah.
That's my point, and that was my point in that moment, because it's very easy. And I know you weren't, like, you were tired, and like, you didn't give me attitude. It wasn't like an issue. It wasn't like a big thing, but we were already there. We had already tried it, and we had already invested the time, and the idea was good. let's just do one more. Let's
Mhm.
just try one more
Yeah.
while we're here. And then if it doesn't work, we'll go to it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. But all of that pressure and stuff that you're talking about should have been on in the beginning before, like when you were creating your shot list of stuff that you wanted to do.
Exactly.
And you were just, I guess, misapplying it, or it was like finally coming down on you in that moment, which is very easy to do.
Mhm.
But I think that like I wasn't motivating or like whatever. It was like all of that stuff that you're feeling, the normal person feels that beforehand. It goes, I don't want to bug everybody with doing a crazy shot. Let's just do this. We'll do the coverage. We'll do all that. It'll take forever to set up lights. Why don't we just do it this way?
Yeah.
You thought about it later in the moment. That's a creative to me. That's the part of you that I love so much, is that let's do this crazy thing or whatever. And then how are we gonna do it? We'll figure it out. Like, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that because that's imagination. That's the beauty of art in
Mhm.
general, is we'll figure it out later.
Yep.
Within reason, obviously, but especially when it comes to moving a camera around, which is what we were doing, like, shut up. Like, let's do it. Why not? We'll figure it out later.
I mean,
You
I
know?
don't wanna play the age card, but I do feel like that may have played a factor too. Because like, looking back on it, I was 18,
Of
surrounded
of course.
by cast and crew of peers all above that,
Yeah, but I think that you're also in
and
your head a lot. And this
I
is the kind
definitely
of
am.
person that you are.
Yeah.
That's why, dude, this is like, I will always tell you, just send me the work, especially when you want me to review something. And I don't want to hear, don't send me a paragraph with it. Just send me the work and I'll watch it and then I'll give you my opinion.
I think I'm getting better.
You 100%, dude, I couldn't watch anything without a commentary over the back,
Yeah.
and that's not me giving you a hard time, but like, allow your work to speak for itself.
I feel like
If you have more to tell me about your work while I'm watching it, you didn't do your job.
no.
You know what I mean?
I do. And I honestly do believe that not only you saying that to me, but also being able to then independently on my own start to recognize that on all of these senses, both in a film and a non-film world sense. Um, I think that's really part of what inspired what I ended up doing with my latest project. I'm not trying to segue into that, but just
That
like
was a
on
good
an
segue if you did. That's great.
objective level, like um that film to me was just such a it was a letter to myself. It was me reminding myself that at the end of the day, what I'm doing is a creative process. And at the end of the day, it's not the hugest stakes, but the stakes are within the interpersonal relationships with the people around me. I don't need to be so hard on myself for that. I just need to let go of the sort of pressure I put on myself and
Mm,
allow myself to do what you say, to just say, we'll figure it out later. Have the idea, be ballsy enough to be like, I'm going to try, and no matter what, even if I fail, if I've tried, then at least I know that I can't do it. Don't stop yourself before you've actually tried in the first place, because
mhm.
I feel that it did take almost a little bit of time after working on those types of projects for me to kind of let that happen.
Oh
Like
yeah,
with
there's no question you needed a break after working for me. Like, and that's okay. And I
yeah,
knew you'd be back, and like I knew that there was never any animosity, and I still like I would tell Dan, like, he would talk to me, like, he talk to Jaden, I'd be like, no, he's doing his thing. He's fine. He'll come back. He'll be back.
yeah,
We're gonna. He needs a moment, because it was literally, when I say trial by fire, it was like a butane torch.
yep.
You know what I mean? It was a lot. I hope you're appreciative of how censoring I am of myself right now.
I am very proud. This is like, and all of you should be too. Go watch any other episode of this show.
Don't do it. Don't do
Family
it.
don't. Anyone else? Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
sure.
We'll do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But seriously speaking, I think, listen, in life, in life on a movie set, there are so many things. I had Sam Luca on a few months ago, earlier last year, and he was talking about how a film set is less like you would think there's stars and celebrities and all, and
Hmm.
it's really more of like a construction zone.
It is. It's a blue collar zone.
Right, extremely much so. And like the grips, and a lot of them who have been in the industry for years, who charge thousands of dollars a day just to be in your presence,
Yep.
are wearing t-shirts with holes in them.
They are.
Like because their knowledge and the way that they work is what is where their worth is.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm so appreciative of the people that I know. I've met so many cool people in my very short, career. But I will say that there are so many things that can go wrong. There are so many different types of things that can happen on a film set where people can get hurt. You need a medic. Locations won't even allow you to use it. Actors don't show up.
Yep.
Like, especially when you're like no budget indie
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
We're all here and we're worried about doing the work. Just do the work.
Hmm.
Like, there are so many other things that we should be worried about that are like actual pressing matters. Do the cool thing with the camera
Yeah.
because that's why we're here. You know what I mean? We have the time. Let's do it. That was really cool. And I am very proud of you. But even with this set, I put a little reel up. It's on the Instagram. You should follow me on Instagram if you don't already. Of when I went down to help you with your most recent project. Do you want to talk about Sea of 8 Million?
Sure. So it was 100% a project born out of a very extended period of time of like self-reflection.
Hmm.
Um, I will say as candidly but as gently as I can, I looked at some of the projects of other peers, not necessarily at my
Okay,
school.
I can't do it anymore. We're gonna cut the BS really quick. I on the film set that I was talking about with the gaffer that was a problem.
Yeah.
I was sent after we made that film, which by the way looked like Goodfellas. It was a mafia movie, and it looked like when we were done with it, it looked so good.
Mhm.
And I got sent a link to a playlist of all of the films from that class. Some of these people, okay, the fact that they're spending the money they're spending. Like if you're questioning whether or not you like film or whatever, and you're about to spend 400 grand, take the money and make a movie with it for God's sake. I mean, this it's crazy, but like the playlist. Some of these people filmed it like with their phone.
Yep.
They're in college. They have access to the equipment. They ran around with the. I didn't know what the heck I was looking at. I
Mhm.
was shocked,
Yeah.
like shocked at some of these things. So I don't want you to obviously name names or talk badly about any of your peers,
Never.
but you want this,
I do.
and there's no question that you want this. And I watch other films and think to myself, "Oh, you want that little foldy chair that says director on the back. That's what these people want." You want to make movies. Like there is a difference. There is absolutely a difference. You are an artist and some people want the title. And that's something that I see in you.
Well,
But
thank you.
but don't, you can be candid, but let's not sugarcoat it. Let's call a spade here. You know what I mean? Some of
Yeah.
these
I
people don't
mean,
care.
I just that's the thing that scared me. Like I didn't want to get to a point where I looked at a project of mine and I was just like questioning everything about my decisions up to the point of even just choosing to go after film in the first place. And I would sometimes seriously question why other people had really put themselves in a position where this is what they were doing if they didn't find it within themselves to push for something or to really try and achieve something of their own on their own volition. And so this project was not only it was obviously all of my experiences leading up, but it was also just like a self-reflection. It was like a, if you want to do this, stop being hard on yourself. Remember you're making a movie and just go make the art. And I also looked at it as an opportunity. I'm in New York. I am young and I will maybe, bend around the rules here and there to achieve what I want to do. And I am going to go out there and I'm going to shoot what I want to shoot. Like I do not want to look back at this and be like, "Oh, this is so like stale. Like this is so like
Or I could
here's
have
camera on the
I wish I had
sticks."
done this.
Exactly. I just wanted to go out there and even if at the end of the day it didn't fully achieve what I wanted, the
Right.
fact that I was putting my friends who I knew I could trust and
Hmm.
I knew would put in their best efforts in these positions to help me try to achieve the things that I wanted to do. We got to go out and shoot some of the coolest stuff I've ever done in my life, in my opinion,
Hmm.
just because that's what I wanted to do. And
You even used actors that we used when you worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, this was just like
It's
a
cool.
completely
It
blank I mean, and getting to oh my god, Chris Lovejoy, absolutely fantastic actor, fantastic
very good.
singer. Go follow him, Planet Lovejoy on Instagram, I think.
Mhm.
Um, Amazing, and I got to collaborate with him. I sent him this poem. I was in the process of trying to create a script. I had
Oh,
no
I remember.
script. Yeah,
I was
literally
because you would
nothing.
send me like, "Hey, you wanna read this thing? You wanna check this out?" Whatever, all these things, and it was like compared to what the final thing is, versus your first idea of what you wanted to do for your, capstone or whatever
Yeah,
project it was. I mean, that evolved
substantially.
at one point, it was evolving almost weekly,
Yeah.
like
Like it's just it and but that's the thing, like, because I needed that, and I also feel like that was a learning thing for me. Like, I did recognize early on I needed the time to do that. I was so worried about my senior film starting my sophomore year. Like, freshman year, I didn't even know what senior film was, or like, you probably should have expected you have to make a movie if you wanna graduate movie school.
True, right.
But for whatever reason, I was naive enough to just not even think about the future and what that would implicate for me. So I get to my sophomore year and I'm finally aware of what senior film is and the fact that I have to do this to graduate and create a thesis project. And I was like, I've got to start now because I know it's going to take me that long to feel comfortable with something that I put in front of others. And
Mhm.
that's just kind of part of my creative process. Like, I do a lot of ideation and I do like to bounce things off of people, but
You're saying you're very analytical?
yes,
Surprising.
surprising.
Shocker.
Yeah. But I just feel like it was what I show other people is not even a fraction of a percent of the amount of time that I spend thinking on these types of projects or coming up with the visual or just like I am so constantly thinking about these things in my head that one, it can be overwhelming. It can be hard to kind of narrow stuff down.
Mm,
And when you have too wide of a breath, which is what I felt at the beginning, I was like, I can make a movie about anything.
mhm,
So what on earth do I make this about? Like, do I like should it have real world impact? Should I, like what am I doing as a person making a movie? What is the end goal of making a movie in the first place? Like I was getting so hyper analytical, like
mhm,
just so beyond what would be I would expect of anybody. And I was just so trying to find it within myself. Like what is the reason for me? And that was like the hard thing. Cause at first I was trying to figure out why I should make a movie for the world.
mhm,
And when you're doing it like that, you will never ever be happy with what you do because you're not doing it for yourself. Like you need to have it within yourself to create that message or to find the story that you want to tell. If you're trying to do it for somebody else, I don't think that that works and I don't think you come out with something that's strong. You're trying to please somebody else,
mhm. Yeah,
don't.
well, no, that's the biggest, I think, misconception with regard to, like, content creation or filmmaking or any sort of whether you're a painter or a sculptor or whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
Like, if the fundamental reason that you're doing anything in life is to impress or to make happy or whatever for somebody else,
Yep.
that's fine, but you're not a creative.
I
You're an
just don't
order
think you're
taker or
achieving what you
whatever.
can personally. I think you're losing
Sure.
out on that personal achievement or finding the voice back to what you had said. Like I feel like when you do that, you're trying to interpret what you think other people want to hear
Right.
and then presenting that as if that's your voice and it's not. That's your impression of what you think other people want.
Right, that's what you think your voice should be based on other people.
Yeah,
The cool thing is there's 8 billion people in the world,
there
and there
is.
really is a butt for every seat. So it's like and by the way, the I don't know if you've noticed or not, but throughout this conversation, I haven't said like, well, what accolades do you have? Or what awards do you have? Or whatever, or what do you how soon do you think you'll be able to make a movie where you win an Oscar? I don't care about personally, you might care, I don't know, but I don't want to speak for you, but I don't care about any awards ever. That's not the reason I make movies.
No.
I make movies because I like to tell stories.
Yep.
So I don't really care about what I should or shouldn't be doing. This is how I want to make a story.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be famous someday. Maybe no one will ever know my name, but I'm doing what I like to do because realistically, you only get about, in my case, who knows? maybe not as much, but some people, you only get like 80 years.
Yeah.
So like, how do you want to spend this time?
Yeah.
This is how I like to spend my time.
Me
I'm
too,
doing what
man.
I love to do.
And it's I honestly I feel so privileged to know that this is it. Like it can be so daunting to figure out what it is you want to, but when you
Oh,
know.
dude.
And it's such a nice feeling.
It is like rather comforting
It is.
because the question, like if you need money for something or I don't know, if you fall in hard times, it's like you kind of always revert back to your gut.
Mhm.
Uh, and like for me, like I've started multiple companies. Some of them were successful, some of them weren't. But the one reason that I've been able to do things with business is because I've always like made the promotional material, made the films, made the everything. So like when I finally was like, all right, I'm just jumping in with both feet. It was because the only reason that anything else I did was successful is because I made videos with it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, so
So
why would I not?
maybe that's a sign.
You know what I mean? So it's like I'm acknowledging that I have this thing that I'm good at,
Yep.
but because I've either been told or I believe that it's not worth anything, I haven't been focusing on that. I've been using it as a tool to focus on other stuff. And the only successful part was the videos. That was the only, that was the part that made it the stuff good. So why not do that full time?
Yeah.
We have a clip from the movie you made.
We do.
You want to play it?
It all seems so clear to me. Simple, even. Just wanted to say something. I had to say something. I would hold a mirror to the city and I would say, look, this is you. Maybe I'm no Bergman, or Tarkovsky. But I thought that exposing the city for its deception, its deceit, that it could be useful. Maybe I could be useful.
Instant tard.
Hmm.
Je peux fumer?
Why? Have you heard anything?
Yeah. I'm glad you called.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything to show me?
Yeah. Of course.
That's straight. Häng med, kom igen. Såga. Kom igen Saga. Häng med nu. Kom igen Saga. Saga, kom hit nu. Kom. Gå fort. Ha koll på var det går. Klippa tummat hår. Inga bilder. Stirra inte. Stanna inte.
No, I can't. I can't really. I'm sorry. No, the whole thing is wrong. I can't.
Good.
I'm done.
What's going on now?
So that's a clip.
That is a clip.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You sent me a cut of this film very early on, and I
Mhm.
was watching it in my office, and I had someone walk into the office while I was watching it, and was like, "Oh, hey, what movie are you watching?"
Oh, that's so sick.
I will bleep that.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
literally so cool.
and it was cool for me in like a filmmaking dad moment. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Like I was like, yeah, that's my boy. I was like, that's right, you're asking what movie I'm watching. Like it wasn't like I watch a lot of YouTube. I
Mhm.
consume all of my media and
course.
like news and everything from YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's not beyond me to like have somebody walk in while I'm watching a YouTube video.
Yep.
To have somebody walk in and be like, "Oh, what movie you watching?" was one of the coolest moments of my filmmaking parental career. To have my boy who came to me and was like, "Maybe I'll intern." And to have someone else viewing some like a portion of your work and being like, "Is this on Netflix? Where are you like what do you watch? I don't want to interrupt. What are you watching? Movie?" Such a cool moment. Such a validating moment. Um and like I said, I'm always right. So do you know what I mean though?
Yeah.
If someone who didn't know you, who wasn't who if it was crap,
Yeah.
would have been like, "Geez, who made that?"
Mhm.
Like because they don't know you.
Yeah.
To have that like little experience, that one little moment happen was very cool for me, and I'm not even really associated with the project at all, you know? And I got to tell you, man, I'm very proud of you. Um, there's not a lot. I feel like it's been a lot of Jaden's so great, but I hope that this kind of shows people why I feel that way. Uh, but um, besides the guy from your church who gave you your first camera, I humbly take second position in your Oscar acceptance speech after him.
I mean, we got to tack mom up at number one, but
I meant in the guests.
oh, okay.
No,
okay,
it's
okay.
God, mom, dad,
Come on.
and then other people in the other people
And
category.
the other people. Okay.
I'm number 2.
All right. Runner up.
Always, yeah, always right there. But you know what I'm saying? Like that, like you're doing some great things, and I've always strived to make sure that you work very hard, but but also believe in yourself.
Mhm.
Because you can work really hard at something you don't care about, and there will be a final thing there. But like if you really put your soul into whatever it is that you're doing and care about it, you're gonna end up being successful. You have to humble yourself down and learn and realize that we don't know everything, and then build off of that. And I think you've done a great job of that over the last 5 years of knowing you.
Well,
So
thank you.
of
And
course, man.
there's always a lot more to go. So
If anybody who's ever told me that they are done learning or that they know everything is they're never gonna be on one of my sets. That's for sure.
Yep.
Because I know a lot, but I haven't even scratched the surface.
yeah.
I
no.
can't wait. I can't even imagine what the future's gonna hold. It's gonna be amazing. Do you have anything else you want to say about the film
Well,
or anything?
I don't know, man. I just like
I'll talk to you for 3 more hours, dude. We've done an hour and a half. I'll keep going.
wow, that's wild.
I know.
That is wild. I don't know. I mean, I'm so glad. Like, obviously, it took an extremely long time to get the film to where it is. Like, obviously, it took me almost 2 years of getting the script and just the general idea down, and then not only that, but then the actual production, and then this has been like 8 months of post production. It definitely helped me to learn a lot about post production. I think that I maybe have underestimated that element significantly in the past, and not in like a negative way, but more in just a naive, like you don't really understand what it takes to get something to its final um professional and end product that you can make. And I'm just like so stupidly proud of the team, you included.
Oh, thank you. I didn't do anything.
You were there and you
I,
showed up and you
dude, you're like my boy. Like I preach. You know what? It was for me not to go off on a whole thing, but I got to say this because this is important because I really didn't do a lot, and I was there for a day. But I drove. I mean, I drove to New York.
this man literally drove to New York from Massachusetts for a single day and picked up another passenger who also had a job on the set for a single day
Yes.
of a senior thesis film.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It was a long drive, but it was worth it, and it wasn't just worth it because I like you or because you're my friend or anything like that. Like I preached to you when you first met me that there isn't a job on a set that I wouldn't do myself, and I will always be there to help you if it's within my means. And I really mean that. If I care and if I believe in you and the vision and what you're doing, I'll do whatever it takes to help you out. And if that means that I used to say all the time, like, I'm really good at being the bad guy because I'm not afraid to fire somebody and be like, get off my set, you're done. I don't like in doing it, but like, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And so I find, especially with younger people, that there's a lot of times where they hire their best friend and their best friend doesn't do the job the way they're supposed to. And now it's going to be detrimental to your work. That didn't happen on your set, but I'm saying, like, somebody's got to do the hard part.
Mhm.
Somebody's got to do the stuff that nobody wants to do. I'm okay with doing that stuff, but I think realistically, in a more broad sense, I just want to help. And I really, really believe that the people that I know in my life and in my filmmaking circles, Colin Munson, Sam Luca, Evan Schneider, Charlie Norton, this is like RJ Carrere, like we are in this weird time. Every time I feel like every generation is a weird generation, but we are in this weird moment of who are the famous filmmakers right now. Scorsese is 150. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being old, but that's what happens.
Yep.
These people are old. Nobody trusts media. I don't want to get political. I'm just saying nobody trusts like the mainstream media, and Hollywood just perpetuates the narrative, and they have all these constraints around winning an Oscar,
Becomes sterilized.
and but everything is the same.
yeah.
Guess what? That means that something new is going to come out, and when you have everything be the same and everything is just the 50th iteration of a Marvel film,
Yeah.
people get bored.
They do.
And so then you have, like in the 90s with Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino, and all these other filmmakers. This is the 90s again. This is that revolutionary period. It's not a bad thing to make a film and release it on YouTube.
It's not at all.
Like, where else can you get that kind of exposure? And the funny thing is, you'll talk to film students or you'll talk to other people and they go, yeah, but YouTube compresses the heck out of my stuff. So you'd make nothing? So you'd rather post nothing?
Yeah.
Are you an artist? Are you a filmmaker? Or are you like down this narrow-minded path that was created in the 1920s that they established was the arbiter for success? Name another art form that's like that. You can
You can't.
you can be a successful painter, right? And paint pictures and live in like a little cabin in Maine and make tons of money if that's your end goal, or make no money. But people don't become painters for the accolades. So why do filmmakers?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Filmmakers become filmmakers to tell stories is what I thought. And that's why I do it.
Yep.
Why would I care what 80 people in Hollywood think of my movie? Because I ran a good Oscar campaign and like like what, like it that is not like what?
Yeah.
Because I have somebody who's a very famous person on my set.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell does that mean? That doesn't make any difference to me at all.
No.
The point is the story.
Yeah.
And if you make a really good movie with really talented actors, no name or famous or whatever, people are going to notice.
Yep.
If you make something really good, people are going to go, that was a really good movie. That's the point. Wow, I really like that story. Films can change your life.
They can. They did.
They do. I really appreciate you coming in here, man. I do.
Thank you for bringing me on.
Dude, I can't wait to make some more stuff with you. We got some more stuff,
We do.
definitely.
On the horizon.
On the horizon.
The new 90s.
The new 90s. I love that.
Yep.
That's great. That'll be really cool. Well, thanks for coming in. Like and subscribe, unless you're a member of his family, and then just share this video only, and this is the only one. And but yeah, thank you very much for coming in. I can't wait to see what happens in the future, and I'd love to have you come back, and we'll talk more about different stuff, because I feel like we kind of scratched the surface, but it's always evolving. Like, there's always going to be more.
Yeah.
You should come back and do more stuff in the future.
I think we can make that happen.
I think so too. Thanks so much.